It's a glittering audience, and the bond that they share is that they love music.
In the film Clive Davis, The Soundtrack of Our Lives, the New York native shared that he originally dreamed of becoming an attorney.
Many people know Clive Davis as one of the most powerful figures in the music industry. For decades, he helped launch the careers of some of the world's biggest stars while keeping much of his private life out of public view. But recent reports about what was discovered inside his estate have left many people shocked and asking questions. So, what exactly was found? Why has it caused so much controversy? And could these discoveries change the way people remember the legendary music executive? Clive Davis conspiracy theory. According to a radio host named Larry Gators, a secret meeting took place at Clive Davis's mansion in Beverly Hills in 1995. Gators claimed that rappers from all over the country attended the gathering. He also alleged that people connected to the CIA, the FBI, and executives from private prison companies were present in the same room. According to Gators, the message given to the artists was clear. He claimed they were encouraged to make more songs about conflict with police, use degrading language toward black women, and create music that was more aggressive, violent, and controversial. The reason, he alleged, was that private prison companies wanted more people entering the prison system. Many people questioned the story, which is understandable since it was an unproven claim from a radio host. However, interest in the allegation grew because an anonymous letter that appeared online in 2012 described a very similar situation. The writer claimed to have witnessed powerful business leaders urging record executives to push gangsta rap further, promote a carefully crafted lifestyle, and influence young listeners in ways that could ultimately benefit the private prison industry. That letter circulated online for years without being proven true. For a long time, few people paid much attention to it, but eventually, the story began attracting renewed interest. Adding to the speculation, some reports claimed that Clive Davis and Whitney Houston had argued just 2 days before her death. It was also said that her daughter, Bobby Christina, may have witnessed part of that disagreement. Larry Gators took the allegations even further than the anonymous letter by directly naming Clive Davis as the person who hosted the supposed meeting. Davis's representatives quickly denied the claims. A spokesperson stated that the story was completely false and insisted that no such meeting had ever taken place. They also pointed to Davis's long public record of helping artists recover from addiction, career problems, and personal struggles. The denial was clear, direct, and intended to put the matter to rest. However, for many people, it did not end the discussion. Some continued to question the rumors, especially when looking at Davis's business success and influence within the music industry. Why do Clive Davis's old allegations continue to resurface, or is there something behind it? Let's find out. Controversial history behind Bad Boy Records. In the early 1990s, after Diddy left Uptown Records, Clive Davis reportedly gave him $15 million to start Bad Boy Records. At the time, that was an enormous amount of money, worth close to $40 million in today's money. Davis later explained that he believed hip-hop was about to become a worldwide force. Diddy, for his part, said he made a convincing case for why the investment would succeed. Still, many people have wondered why someone would invest so much money in a person who had never run a record label before, had not produced major hit records of his own, and was known for being difficult to work with. Investments of that size are usually made because someone believes they can see where the market is heading, already has a detailed plan, or has heard enough behind the scenes to feel confident about the future. The timing has led some people to connect the investment to the alleged secret meeting discussed in various rumors. Whatever the truth may be, the investment helped create one of the most successful labels in hip-hop history. Artists like Biggie Smalls and Craig Mack became stars, and Bad Boy Records played a major role in changing the sound of mainstream music in a very short time. Supporters of different theories often point out that such a powerful music empire did not simply appear overnight. Some people argue that the story goes back even further. to the 1980s. They point to Priority Records, a label whose founders had previously worked at K-Tel International, a company famous for selling television music compilations and novelty records. Critics of the music industry say it is surprising that a company connected to novelty projects later became associated with NWA, one of the most controversial groups in hip-hop history. Members of NWA later suggested that the tough image presented in their music was not always an accurate reflection of who they really were. Ice Cube said he sometimes felt used by the industry. Dr. Dre was not known as a gangster, and DJ Yella was even further from that image. Yet the image proved highly successful. It sold millions of records, filled arenas, and helped make the group famous around the world. Some critics believe this period served as a test run for a business model that would later be used on a much larger scale. By the time the 1990s arrived, the industry already had a blueprint, financial backing, and new figures ready to build powerful entertainment brands. Diddy became one of the most important people in that movement. Today, the situation looks very different. Diddy is being held at MDC Brooklyn, a facility that has received criticism over its conditions and management. He has remained there since his arrest and could stay there for years unless future legal developments change his situation. At the same time, rumors continue to circulate about whether Diddy is sharing information with federal prosecutors. Some people claim he is cooperating, while others say there is no proof of that. His attorney, Mark Agnifilo, has publicly stated that Diddy is eager to testify and may be difficult to keep off the witness stand. Comments like that have attracted attention because they suggest Diddy may want to speak publicly about events connected to his case. Supporters of the rumors speculate that if Diddy were willing to provide information, he could discuss people, meetings, and business dealings from decades ago. They believe such testimony could revive old allegations that have never been proven. However, it is important to note that these claims remain speculation. No federal charges have been announced against Clive Davis, and no public evidence has confirmed the long-running rumors. Even so, the stories continue to attract attention because of the timing of past events and the enormous influence that powerful music executives had on the industry. What's the contrast between Clive and Diddy? Are they completely opposite? Let's take a closer look. Divided paths of two icons. Davis received the Apollo Theater's Legacy Award on June 4, 2025, at a big event with many celebrities. Method Man performed there, and Busta Rhymes praised him. That same week, Diddy was still in custody, facing a sentence that could keep him locked up until late 2028 at the earliest. So while one man linked to him in business was being honored on stage, the other was sitting in a federal jail. The contrast between the two situations has drawn a lot of attention. One of them is being celebrated in public, while the other, who once ran a major music empire, is in a prison cell. The same federal system that arrested Diddy has not taken any action against Davis, according to these claims. However, people also say that if rumors about Diddy speaking or cooperating are true, things could change quickly, maybe soon, or maybe not at all. There is also a lot of uncertainty about the story itself. Some suggest the alleged 1995 meeting and related claims may never have happened, or may not be backed by real evidence. It is also possible that investigators are not even focusing on those questions, or that some of the reports are exaggerated or false. Still, questions keep coming up. Why did the $15 million investment happen at that time? How did Priority Records move from small projects to backing major acts like NWA? And why is Diddy said to be interested in testifying in court? When people look at these details together, they often find them hard to fully separate or explain. At the same time, nothing is confirmed, and many parts of the story remain unclear. What is certain is that the situation has not gone away, and it continues to be discussed. Meanwhile, Diddy remains in MDC Brooklyn. The longer he stays there, the more serious his situation becomes. He reportedly asked for credit for time already served, hoping for a shorter sentence, but Judge Arun Subramanian gave him 50 months instead. That means his earliest possible release would be around late 2028. He is now in a difficult federal facility, and his future depends heavily on what happens next. Some reports say he may be eager to testify, not just willing, but actively interested in doing so. If that is true, it raises questions about what he might know. He was involved in the music industry at a very high level and ran Bad Boy Records. Even if he was not directly involved in the alleged meetings being discussed, he was close to major decisions, deals, and powerful people in the business. Because of that, he may have knowledge about how the industry operated, who made decisions, and how influence worked behind the scenes. If he ever chose to cooperate with investigators, he could potentially provide detailed information rather than just rumors. And if federal investigators are truly looking into Davis, then a cooperating witness with inside knowledge would be very important to them. But for now, much of this remains uncertain, and many of the claims are still unproven. Which other allegation is on Davis? Has it been proven? Let's find out. Knight allegations. Suge Knight is currently serving a 28-year prison sentence for voluntary manslaughter. He is a convicted felon, and he is also someone with a long, well-known, and very bitter history of conflict with Sean Diddy Combs that goes back to the 1990s. Because of that background, many people argue he is not a neutral or reliable voice. He has clear personal reasons to be angry, to twist facts, or to present events in a way that damages others in the industry. Some would even say he has nothing to lose by making bold or shocking claims. But what keeps people paying attention is not just who he is. It is what he says he knows. Knight has claimed that there are hidden recordings and tapes involving powerful figures in the music industry. According to him, these recordings do not only involve Combs, but also people above him in the industry hierarchy. He suggests that some of these higher-level figures were involved in the same kinds of behavior that others were accused of, and that the industry helped protect or hide those actions. Before completely dismissing him, supporters of his claims argue that it is important to actually listen to what he is saying in detail. Knight is not asking for sympathy. He is not trying to present himself as innocent or misunderstood. Instead, he is speaking from a prison cell, with very little to gain personally. In that position, he claims he is simply telling what he believes is the long-standing truth about how the music business operates behind the scenes. One of the more disturbing ideas he mentioned is something he referred to as the egg test. He did not go into full detail in every public statement, but the basic idea he described is that young or upcoming artists were allegedly put through humiliating or degrading physical situations as a kind of informal test before being accepted or fully welcomed into the industry. According to Knight, this was not something that was completely unknown. He suggested it was more like an open secret, something many people were aware of, but few were willing to speak about publicly. In his version of events, he also named Clive Davis as someone who enabled or allowed these kinds of practices to continue. He did not accuse Davis of directly organizing the alleged events, but rather of knowing about them and doing nothing to stop them. Davis's spokesperson quickly rejected these claims. They described Knight's statements as completely false and said they come from someone who is currently in prison and has personal resentment toward the industry. From their point of view, his accusations are not credible and are motivated by anger rather than evidence. And that is where the situation becomes complicated. On one side, Knight's credibility is heavily questioned because of his criminal record, his prison sentence, and his long-standing conflicts with powerful figures in music. On the other side, he is also making very serious claims involving major companies like Universal and Interscope. According to Knight, when serious accusations were made against certain artists, there was sometimes a quiet way of handling it. He claims that instead of going through public legal battles or clear settlements, some individuals were given jobs within the company or placed on the payroll in some form of arrangement. He also suggests that these payments were structured in a way that looked official, but in reality were meant to keep people quiet. If something like that were true, critics say it would not look like a normal business settlement at all. So far, no legal action has been taken against Knight specifically over these claims, No major public lawsuit has forced him to retract his statements, and no detailed public legal challenge has fully addressed what he said point by point. In many ways, the industry itself has remained largely quiet on the matter, and that silence is part of why these stories continue to circulate. So, if the claims are completely false, why has there not been a stronger, faster, and more direct response to shut them down through legal or public channels? Could it be a deliberate act? Let's find out. The shocking silence. Some people notice that Universal and Interscope have not come out quickly and loudly to deny the claims. Because of that silence, they wonder if the strategy is simply to wait and hope the story slowly disappears. But instead of fading away, the story keeps going. Suge Knight keeps speaking, and every time he does, the topic becomes harder for the public to ignore or dismiss. At the same time, Knight is not the only voice suggesting that powerful people inside the music industry protected themselves when large amounts of money were involved. Critics often widen the focus beyond one person and point to earlier events as part of a bigger pattern. One instance goes back to 1991 at the City College of New York. There was a charity basketball event promoted by Sean "Diddy" Combs. According to reports, the planning for the event was poorly handled, and the security was not strong enough for the size of the crowd. As a result, a stampede broke out, and 9 people were injured. In many industries, especially entertainment, something like this could have ended a career or caused a long suspension from public work. But in this case, Combs continued moving forward in the industry without a major public shutdown of his career. Only 2 years later, in 1993, Clive Davis provided him with a major financial boost, reportedly around $15 million to build Bad Boy Records. To many observers, that amount of money represented far more than just support. It looked like a major step upward in power and influence. Instead of being pushed out or slowed down, he was given the resources to expand even further. From the outside, the message some people took from this was simple. In the entertainment world, if you generate enough profit or value for the right people, serious setbacks may not stop your progress in the long term. There are also allegations from individuals within the media industry. Daniel Smith, who was an editor at Vibe magazine, claimed that Combs once threatened to sue her while they were in a car because she refused to show him magazine cover photos before they were published. She says this incident happened in the 1990s, and she has also said that the experience left her with lasting emotional stress. According to her account, there were no serious legal consequences or major career interruptions for Combs afterward. No charges were filed, and there was no widely recognized public punishment at the time. Because of stories like these, some critics argue that a pattern begins to form. They suggest that whenever Combs faced situations that could have led to serious consequences, something always seemed to prevent those consequences from fully landing. Whether it was industry support, legal outcomes, or business influence, the result was often that his career continued moving forward. To critics, this does not look like isolated incidents, but rather a system where powerful connections help keep influential figures protected. This is where major institutions also enter the discussion. New York University, for example, has the Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music, named after the influential music executive. It is a respected program that trains young people who want to work in the music industry. But now, its connection to Davis is being viewed differently by some people because of the wider controversies and accusations being discussed in public. In the fall of 2024, the institute named rapper Joey Beatty Toolers as an artist in residence. He is a Brooklyn artist who is now connected indirectly to the legacy of Clive Davis and the institution bearing his name. The institute's leadership said he could help students understand the modern financial systems of the music industry. However, critics say that this kind of statement sounds very different when placed next to the ongoing allegations and debates about how money, influence, and power may have shaped parts of the industry. The Clive Davis Institute is also part of a larger conversation about legacy and reputation. The Apollo Theater also becomes part of this contrast. In June 2025, Clive Davis received a Legacy Award at a major benefit event there, where well-known artists performed in his honor. So, what do you think about the shocking discovery in Clive Davis's estate? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.